with it. And hopefully I have a few comments, and if people have questions about how that relates to specific areas of climate change, I'm happy to answer that. So I have basically 3 points from Islamic traditional teaching. And the first point is that nature and the environment worship God and are servants of God. There's a chapter 22, verse 18 of the Quran. I was going to read off the Arabic part, but I guess I'll skip the Arabic part and go to the English. Do you not see that all things that are in the heavens and earth bow down in worship to God, the sun, the moon, the stars, the hills, the trees, the animals, and many among humanity? And so the Quran is telling us that every part of our creation is a servant of God and worshiper of God. And as human beings, we've been given a moral agency, so we may choose or not to choose to serve our Creator or the purpose of worshiping God. But all of nature is in harmony with God and in service to God. And so God created the heavens and earth, and it was good, and He derives pleasure from His creation. It was designed for His service, and it is integral to divine purposes. So it's really not possible in an Islamic perspective that we could harm or bring harm to God's servants if we believe we are worshipers of God or servants of a higher moral purpose, then we couldn't do something that would harm other of God's servants that were created for His pleasure and His service. And a second verse I would like to read to you from the Quran, which is that nature is a divine revelation. Truly in the creation of the heavens and the earth, in the alternation of the day and night, in the sailing of the ships upon the sea for the benefit of humanity, in the rain which God sends down from the skies to bring life to the land after it has been dead, in the beasts of all kinds that He scatters throughout the earth, in the changing of the winds and the clouds which trail between the sky and the earth, are signs and revelations indeed for a people of understanding. And so, first, nature worships God. Our whole world and everything in it serves God. And secondly, the study of our creation of this world is a divine revelation. Everything in the world has something to teach us. It has a purpose and wisdom of its own, but it also leads us to discovering our own purpose and wisdom. And so when we destroy our environment, we're destroying our ability to learn. When we remove, or for example, species become extinct or no longer there for us to learn from them and benefit. And as the Prophet Muhammad told us, God has put cure of every illness here in His creation if we would discover it. And so we should use science and technology to enhance our life and find our ethical and moral purpose through study of nature and the world around us. The Prophet Muhammad said that part of true faith is that we should remove harmful substances or objects from the path. In other words, keeping the environment safe and healthy for others to use is part of faith. Faith isn't something simply that is in your heart, a belief or a doctrine, but it is how you can protect other people in the community from harm. And He warned us, beware of causing a curse upon yourselves. Or He said, don't curse yourselves. And of course people say, well, how would we curse ourselves? He used another word for cursing. The person who pollutes places that are used by people for necessity or pleasure, then he causes those people who use it to curse him. That is, when they come and find the place, the earth polluted, then they curse the person who has done that. And so you're bringing damnation upon yourself, literally. And he said, a person of faith who plants a tree or sows a seed, and then a bird or a person or an animal eats from it or finds shelter within it, receives the reward of an act of charity. And so the Quran is telling us that human beings haven't simply been given dominion on the earth or power over the earth. But in fact, as chapter 33 tells us, the world is an amana, which means a trust. Something valuable has been loaned to you to use. And as a trust, you've been entrusted with responsibility for that valuable thing. And then you show your respect by taking care of that valuable and then returning it back to its owner. So indeed, we are not the owners, but we pass this world as a trust. First of all, also the Quran told us that we are khala'if fil-ard, that is, that we succeed each other generation after generation. So we pass the earth down to the next generation, and ultimately it goes back to the God who created it. And so we have to show our piety or our belief in God by how we return back this earth and everything in it in the same shape or better that we received it from our Creator. And so anything that we do to enhance and preserve the environment is an act of worship and service of God. Saving a species or a single creature, great or small, is an act of charity. Polluting the environment or making it unpleasant or unusable to humanity is a sin and curse upon us. And therefore, as Muslims, it's impossible for us to ignore our duty to preserve and protect our environment. That's when we talk about things like, taking care of a tree or an animal. But what about bringing harm to every human being? If you save even one human life, you are saving the whole world. All humanity are one soul. All of us were created from God, from a single soul. And therefore, what harms one harms everyone. And so when the way of life of millions of people is threatened, in fact, even their very lives are threatened, it becomes an emergency, an urgent necessity for us then to cooperate and work together to preserve the earth as a safe and secure environment for all of us. And I don't believe that this is something exclusive to Islam. I think that's a divine revelation that was taught to all the prophets and messengers and in all of the scriptures. And so I appreciate the opportunity to address that for everyone. And finally, an issue that I didn't consider was the issue of justice and fairness. So the Quran tells us we must be witnesses for God, standing up for justice and fairness. It's not possible that we could perhaps exploit the environment in such a way that it causes the earth become unlivable for many, but because of our wealth and our access to expensive technology, we could somehow protect ourselves from the worst outcomes while other people would be inflicted with those and would not have any salvation from those outcomes. And so I think that would also be part of the Islamic idea of justice and fairness. So God bless everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, sir, and to the Sierra Club for the invite to be a part of this panel. I am an African-American Pentecostal pastor, and according to our African-American Pentecostal tradition, we embrace a notion out of Psalm 24 that says, "The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein." Since this is in our faith reality, climate change is more than a moral imperative for the Pentecostal. It should be considered a vital part, and I concur with Amon, of our worship. We worship the earth's creator. Therefore, we are called to be partners and stewards of the eternal one in maintaining a healthy relationship with nature's environment. Jesus told his disciples that we should be the light of the world. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that the faith community is often the taillights instead of the headlights of social change. We must start confessing that greed has caused us to take such a position. We have sinned. Perhaps this sin is a result of recent trends or found in recent trends embracing a theological stance that has an unbalance in prosperity of material acquisition and our worship. We have neglected to maintain a worship that is holistic, that we even consider our responsibility to climate change. We support the manufacturers that produce